me shut down.
Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul? I think Coach Paul might have skipped out for a second.
Can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How are you, Coach?
Hello?
Yep, I
Hello.
got you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Coach.
All right, all right. Just shutting down some other things to save on. All right. How was your day today, Coach?
The day was good. The day was good. We were talking a little bit in the green room about how the day went. And I think sometimes, Coach, pictures are better than words and can describe the story a little bit better. So I think for both of us, what we said was the day felt a lot like this. And we're not the one throwing the punches. We were the one dodging all those punches. It felt a lot like survival.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
took
love this.
where yeah, it was try not to get knocked out. Stay in the ring, figure out where safety was, and get there as quickly as possible. I did have a nice winning day. Took some shorts last night, but then everything I did during the New York session, with the exception of one long trade in the Nasdaq, they were all shorts, and it felt like at any moment I was going to get my head knocked off if I held onto those trades a little bit too much. So going back to what we talked about yesterday, knowing when your trade ideas don't agree with the market can help prevent getting hit by one of these. Because any one of these punches, if they landed, we would have been talking about Tyson getting knocked out, or our accounts getting blown. So know when you're wrong, know when to play defense. That was the motto for the day for me. How was your day, Coach?
Much the same, bobbing and weaving. I took some scratches, but I didn't get knocked out. Um, as we talk about, just executing a plan with um, risk management at the forefront. Um, so I felt good about it. I didn't make money, but as you've heard me say before, I'll say it again. You can trade well and lose money, and you can trade poorly and make money. The
Yep,
object is to find consistency and execute your plan.
100%. With that, welcome to At the
So,
Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunities, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay, been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
yeah, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since May of 2023 as a performance coach. I have 4 decades of experience in the futures industry. I'm here to share some experiences and knowledge and hopefully assist you in becoming a better trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. And you are all the chat. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, and we will get into the markets. Let us know how your day went today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Did you survive, or did you take one of those haymakers trying to play defense today? Maybe you were the one throwing the punches. I know I have a couple of traders that sent some messages in Discord saying they took a couple of trades based on setups that we talk about here all the time. So shout out to anyone who is out there executing on good setups and taking profits when the market presents it. Andrew says that Brett Steenbarger's segment today was fire. I agree. During that segment, I usually turn off the charts, pull out a notebook, and just take notes. It's definitely one that I'm going to rewatch, and the team is going to split that out and keep it as its own video because it deserves that. But definitely a great segment when we have Dr. Steenbarger on. And Thursday, we are going to have Jim Dalton on, right? So two great segments by some legends in the trading game, and it'll be great to have them. Definitely watch those if you have not already. Uh, what I learned today is I need a new strategy, says Oscar. Okay, that's honest, right? If you've given a strategy enough time to figure out that it's not working for you and you need to find something else, maybe work on something else. What I will say is if you're changing strategies, don't change strategies and have the expectation of making money from something that you're learning, right? Coach, I would tell my basketball players all the time that frustration is earned. And a lot of times, I put them through a new drill or something like that in practice, and they get frustrated when they can't do it. And I would ask the question, why are you getting frustrated with something that you've never done before, right? Or why are you expecting results from something you've never done before, right? You have to learn how something works first and then apply it when it matters. So if you're developing a new strategy, do it in a practice account, do it where there's no risk so you can identify what it is that you're doing, and then you can set the expectation of making money from that or making good trades from that once you develop it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ray Dalio calls it struggling well. When we struggle poorly, we're just randomly losing.
Yep.
When we struggle well, we're learning, and and so if if you are not confident in your trading process, change it up. Because, and when we've talked about this many times, you have to execute it. Um, it's best developing your own plan based on principles that you've learned. It's hard to trade someone else's plan because you have to follow those rules, and your personality might not be able to handle the swings. So that's um, that's a wise insight. Um, but just don't throw it all out. There's something there you learned. See if it's making adjustments, or review, as we talk about review, and see if you're really following the rules.
100%.
Um, if the if the swings are too much to take, adjust. We all, we all well, we got this is Mike Tyson day. Everybody's got a plan till they get hit in the mouth. And then you find out what whether you're going to follow the plan. If the swings are too big, adjust the size, because it's great when you get the winner, but from experiences, can you hold on when when one of those punches hit? Um, so adjust and good luck.
Awesome. All right, let's get into these markets. As far as news goes today, we did have one planned number out. U.S. durable goods coming in at negative 2.2%. Forecast was 0.6%. We also had some earnings, GM earnings, Boeing, Lockheed. Uh, but the big day, I think we all know, is tomorrow. Starting off with a Bank of Canada rate decision early in the morning, but the FOMC rate statement at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow is going to be the big news for the week. Tomorrow is a crazy day. So we have
Yeah,
FOMC at 1 p.m. Central. Then we have Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, and IBM all reporting on the same day. Uh, that's gonna be a big one. That'll be a fun one. I'm gonna see actually if we can get maybe we can get Nick for a tick on tomorrow to talk about all of the big tech earnings that we're seeing, because that's a lot. That is a lot, especially for all three of those. Is that three? One Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, IBM.
I think it's four.
Yeah,
That's four
is
in my
IBM
counting.
is IBM considered a? We'll consider it. We love you, IBM. That is it. That is definitely four. But big earnings, and then the day after we have Intel, Apple, Visa. Uh, so a lot going on this week. A lot of volatility. Hopefully, that's what we want as traders. But with volatility comes uh, increased risk. So just pay attention to that. You may not have to trade a whole bunch of size in order to see some pretty good profits in these markets. And speaking of the markets, let's get to the charts. 35 different markets that we can trade with Topstep accounts, not just the equities. And to the downside today, we had the euro down 0.57%, the Japanese yen down 0.64%, and nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside at 5.29%. Nat gas was out of that top three for a little while, but it said, "Hey, don't forget about me. Uh,
It
I can
tries harder.
right, I can make some pretty big moves when I want to."
Uh,
To the upside, we have silver up 1.68%, wheat futures up 1.77%, and cattle, shout out to Coach Hoop, but your steaks just got a little more expensive. Cattle up 1.78% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. I'm going to pull up that chart actually, because we've talked about it before. This market is just rallying, and it might sound like a joke. Oh, you're trading
it's
live cattle. And so the great thing is, especially if you're trading on a Topstep account, you don't have to pay for the data to trade this if you're in an XFA. If you're in a live account, different story. But this is a market that is just trending to the upside. Coach Hoop, you found a great one here. This is just rallying, Coach Paul. This reminds me of last year when we were bringing up cattle and hogs all the time when they were trending, and I think we stopped talking about it for a little while because it got consolidated. When these markets want to trend, they trend for a long time. And this is a perfect example of that. Let's just do a quick breakdown of this chart. We'll look at the open. Mm, here it is. And we've seen
just a
this.
3 minute.
Yeah, this is a 3 minute. We can go to a one though, because I think with the
Oh,
commodities,
three. Yeah.
it's
Just,
it's
wow.
rallying.
It gets bought right away. Test to the tick. But what side are we favoring? If you want to try and sell highs in a runaway market, you better be good. You better be Tyson good, dodging haymakers. Um, I, I don't. I know I'm not that good, and so I go with the flow. Interesting though. This is it. Kind of you said it. It reminds me of cocoa, except for I can really live without cocoa, but it's going to be hard for me to become a vegetarian. Um, this is this is for reals. Um, if we look at the daily, well, let's finish this, and then we'll look at the daily. This is. I wish I had a bigger freezer. That's all I can say. Um, I love my
Go out
steak.
to
I
it.
love hamburger, steak. Um, this is a runaway market, and it's why this can continue because you you can't just come up with cattle. Oh, let me go find some cattle. That's it. It takes 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
So Coach Hoop says he'll have pork tenderloin in his future. Uh,
Yeah, this is
um,
and I actually think I when I realized I think I anchored to the wrong day. So here's today's open. That was yesterday. I forgot these markets have shorter hours. This is an even better example. Yeah, yesterday we had a little bit of an indecision. Today, it just went. Man, great market, Coach Hoop. I'm gonna be on Top Step TV tomorrow. If cattle makes a move like this, I'm gonna trade it. I got a XFA on Top Step X. I will be trading cattle tomorrow if it makes this move. Especially with FOMC day tomorrow, we might expect some consolidation in the equities. Uh, we might get a live cattle trade on Top Step TV tomorrow. Hold me to it if the market moves.
yeah, what a trade. I mean, there is a classic urgency trade.
Yep.
It's needed. So, wow. Um, I
Tick
hope
value
McDonald's is hedged.
tick value is 1250. Is that right? Or is it 625? Coach Hoop knows.
Well, it's 420, Coach Hill. I think it's 425 a point. So I know it's 42,500 pounds.
Okay, $4 a point. There you go.
$4. Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Coach
there you
Hoop.
go. That's
Yeah,
a lot of ticks.
yes, it is. All right. So to round out our big four, we had the Nasdaq up 1.43%, gold up 1.18%, Crude oil up 1.01%, and the S&P's up 0.73% to round out our big four. I'm going to switch over to a Nasdaq chart, and not too surprised at some upside movement today, especially after that sell-off that we had to start the week. A lot of times when we see these big moves to the downside, there is a bit of a retracement of them. Uh, so let's take a look at what happened with the Nasdaq. I'm going to go to a 30-minute chart here, Coach. Have your moving averages up. What are you seeing here on a 30-minute chart, Coach?
Well, we got right up to the 200 after gapping below it, in front of the big day tomorrow. Um, it's funny, we stopped right there at the 200. S&P was a little different, but the Nasdaq went to it. I think there's still a little fear. We did not fill that downside gap. Um, but I would say it's bargain hunting and perhaps a little short covering. It got a little ahead of itself on shocking news, but it's tomorrow's a big day. Just looking at that, but technically we started out early last night.
And here we go. Last night's open.
We found balance.
Wow,
We
that is
drifted,
the definition of balance.
yeah. And this morning they hooked me on a short. We broke out of that 3 minute opening range, but bounced right back. I took a nice controlled loss. Um, then was off to the races, but um, it took a while for look at that. I mean, I know, but like we show that picture again,
I got another
bobbing
one.
and weaving.
I got another one queued up, because like you just said, that 3-minute opening range initially, and this is where we say, we can have a trade set up, we can have an idea. This was a decent short, um, off of that 3-minute opening range. VWAP looked like it was leaning to the downside, and it looked like a pretty nice short opportunity. And I think you could have taken one, right? These are big moves. It doesn't seem that big, if we're looking at it, but from the low of this opening range down to this low is 90 points in about 9 minutes. We came down to some higher time frame. If you look back on a 30-minute chart, we came down to this consolidation here that we had in the middle of the day, and we bounced pretty strong from there. I know there was a number out at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central. Uh, Dakota caught a really nice long down here, at 165. Um, but let's say you did take this short because it did set up as a short, and you know, off of the playbook that we've been talking about, it was a decent short. Maybe you took it early here, you would have preempted it because the VWAP didn't leave the range. But let's say you take this one. This is where it's really important to know when you're wrong. Um, we tested that VWAP. You could have gotten into a short here. We see the wick on this candle where we tested into that VWAP. So this wick means that at some point you did get some favorable price action, but paying attention to how the market is delivering what you want it to deliver is extremely important. I'm going to go through that a couple of times today on the Nasdaq, because I caught myself looking for shorts pretty much the second half of the day, but the market was not willing to give me more than what I was looking for. So, knowing where you're wrong here, Coach, we've talked about it sometimes. Maybe you set your risks to ATRs, the high of the range, candle close above VWAP. There are a couple different signals that are saying, hey, the short idea is no longer valid at this time. And if you ignore these, uh, oh, come on, cue up my GIF. See that live production. All right.
Well, you're saying that is well, you get that. It's true. I took that short, took two ATR risk, and darn, it was a great loss. Now, we haven't said this in a while for our new viewers. Love your
There it is.
losers. There it is.
That's what that candle did to
The
anyone that was not
ouch.
willing to realize when they were wrong in the markets, right? We had a decent short. The market was presenting some opportunity to you, but if you said no, this needs to go down and test, yesterday's lows. That could have been an opinion, and I'm not saying that you were wrong. But what I am saying is that the market disagreed with that trade idea, right? And that those are two different things, right? And they might sound the same. Um, yes, you ended up being wrong about the direction of the market. But if your setup said it was a short, then your setup said it was a short. But knowing when the market disagrees with your setup, again, is extremely important, or you get knocked out.
You
So,
put your guard down, right?
exactly.
When you put your guard down, you can take hits, right? Trading is very much like boxing, is you take a series of hits. If you
100%.
put your guard down, g- uh, I won't sing the song, but you're gonna get knocked out. Um, that because I've done it. I've done it. I got stubborn. Here's psychologically, I had a winner on, and expectations are that it should continue because I'm right. Then it turns around, and you either you move your stop, cancel your stop, don't have a stop. That's called letting your guard down. And you never know when a roundhouse for right upper haymaker is going to hit you in the chin. Survival. Take good losses. I
Yep.
mean, that if you're having trouble losing, because this is the trick of trading. Once again, best loser wins. Doesn't mean you're seeking losses,
Right.
because
You're
it took me a
accepting them.
long time. First time someone said, "Learn to love your losers." uh, I w- well, I told him, "F you." Come on, you're kidding me. Here, take take my losses. Yeah, take my losses. Love them. I don't love them. Um, yeah, and I kept on holding on to losers because it's just not a winner yet, or I was right and I can't accept being wrong now. It's tricky. Um, so when you have measured losses that keep your account alive, you don't have to worry about that chin, chin music there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
100%. Measure your loss. Who just said it in the chat? Again, this VWAP trade, Christian said it. You had about 3 minutes to take your profits. Coach, you and I talked about this a little bit after we got off air yesterday, um, and maybe speaking to some of the VIPs about this, and not worrying about being right, but trading right. Um, yeah, this is a valid trade idea for what the market presented at the time. Could I have taken profits on it? Potentially, right? Depends on how you want to manage that. But once you take that loss, it's not take the next trade. Take the next trade that sets up. Leave this one alone. It was an idea. Each idea is going to have a profit target, a stop loss. Let it play out. And if you stick to what the stop loss is, you did your job, right? Successful trade, not based on the result, but based on the execution of it. Because from that point, what we did was rally. We had the news, 10 o'clock news that came out, 9 a.m. Central Time. We see this volume spike here, and from that point, it was a rally, right? News printed, we attach a VWAP to that, and that was our support for the rest of the session. Um, so ever changing markets, especially with headline risk at any potential point. Just mention the T word, and the markets are going to drop. The Nasdaq is going to drop 50 points. Just be ready for changing conditions, right? Which is really important. Outside of that, what we did in the Nasdaq, from my point of view, is just retrace some of that move. I do want to talk a little bit about another failed trade. This one here. We were talking about the potential of a sell-off here. I realize now that I read this wrong again. We had some selling. We traded up to the top of that candle. I got into a short here. If we look at VWAP, it was pretty flat. This is against the flow of the day. This heavy selling here came at the low of this pullback, which should say get in long. I got in short. I was wrong. For whatever reason today, I got stuck with a short bias. looking for this move that we ultimately got at the end of the day. And if I didn't take the 20 points that were available to me, I would have been the one getting knocked out. So again, ideally, our trade setups align with what the market says, because then it's easy selling, right? You just let the market take you to whatever destination it wants to go. But sometimes you're going to find yourself on the wrong side. I found myself on the wrong side today. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find myself to get on the right side, right? All the signals were there, but I couldn't take the trade that said it. And again, back to the playing defense point, at that point, I could either try to fight or not get hit. Each one of these pullbacks was no more than 30 points, right? If I was stubborn here and I'm looking for a retest of VWAP because that's a, you know, a logical setup. I saw the house account get short here as well, where we were looking for the break of this head and shoulders. It's good to have an idea, but if the market doesn't agree, what do? Do I just stand there and take the punches, or do I get out of the way? And I consider that a winning day if you can do that, because the market just continued to rally until we eventually got the sell off in the end of the day. But at this point, you know, how much risk do I want to put on 10 minutes to go in the day?
Well, nice bobbing and weaving, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Um,
And Lou says, am I back to trading the NASDAQ already? They were all micro NASDAQ trades, all MNQ. We're easing back into it. We're easing
well,
back into it.
1/10 the risk.
There we
What
go.
is the ATR today in Nasdaq on the open?
What time frame?
Let's say what is that? The 3 minute? Where was it right after the opening? Right there.
35 points.
So 35 points times 20 is how much?
35 times 20,
$750.
750. Yep.
Okay. Versus $75. $750. All right. If you have a $10,000 account, that's 7.5%. If in 3 minutes, if you're wrong. So trading micros, don't get this idea that you're too good for that. You're
Yep.
as good as your equity is. You're trading your equity. Um, there's not people don't talk about the heroes that went down in a battle. We remember the ones that survived. It's about survival. Trading your equity. 2-3 micros is plenty for 90% of Topstep accounts. If you're starting, as I'm going to tell my VIPs, you're starting out with $4,000.
Yep.
If you're going to swing in Nasdaq and try to, make 100,000 and be a hero, you might get it. I'm not saying it, but you better be a 95% winning plan. So, yeah, I micro Nasdaq are plenty of opportunity.
Oh,
As
yeah.
a matter of fact, they fit the accounts.
100%. 100%. Anything else on the Nasdaq? I do want to look at the S&Ps, because the S&Ps did something a little bit different today, where we had this gap down. The S&Ps actually tested the gap. Let me take some of these drawings off. John Bertone, I saw your comment there. You used the MACD to tell you to get out of this short trade on the S&Ps here. I don't use the MACD in my strategy, but if that is added confluence for you to get out of here, great job. Know how to play defense, right? For you, it's using that MACD to tell the reversal. Great. For me, it's, hey, we got back above VWAP. Maybe don't take that trade. Defense and offense is going to look different for every person. And if that's a tool that you use, it helped you today, right? So it's valid. All right, but we have this gap here in the S&Ps, in all the equity markets actually, but the S&Ps tested it today, right? We can see where the high of the day was, 6105. Nice short opportunity there, right? Tested the low of that gap and
Is that
rejected
a
almost
little?
immediately. Go ahead, Coach.
It, it just stopped on a dime.
On a dime.
There's your true resistance.
on
And
a
how
dime.
greedy? What's just check. If you were long there, how far away are we from VWAP there? 3,
Let's
4
see.
ATRs? We were talking yesterday.
So this on a 3 minute, you are 15 ATRs away at this point.
Okay. Now I put that much like if lifting weights and you're getting into a new weight, you've gone from what, over 250 pounds and now you're going for 260, and you're getting up, 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 and then you can't get it over. And what's going to happen to that? Your arm's just going to fail. That seems like when you get when we get to that gap, yeah. So that one should be in the encyclopedia of technical analysis for gaps.
Yep.
Great chart.
Yeah. Really nice rejection at the low of that gap. We'll see tomorrow whether or not we can, with all the news that we have, we'll see whether or not we can test into into this gap, close it, and then continue making all-time highs. Uh, Paul H had another great day with anchored VWAP breakouts. Thank you both so much. Great stuff, Paul. What markets?
No,
What markets were you trading where you caught those breakouts? I saw some traders mention gold. We'll go over gold in a second. Cattle we showed did it. It's a bunch of nice markets. Even here in the S&Ps, right? Where the Nasdaq, the anchored VWAP took a little while to leave that 3 minute opening range, but we had a short. It was a quick one, quick 20 points to the downside in the S&Ps. I'll take that. That could be your one trade for the day. Again, you would have had to preempt this one a little bit if you were waiting for that volume to leave the range. But then even to the upside, right, where maybe it got away from us, maybe through this half an hour right here, you were thinking, oh wait, this should have been a short, or you were getting out of the trade. But this market still presented a ton of opportunities. By the time VWAP was leaving that opening range to the upside, we got a perfect test of it and another trade from there. Um, Ton of opportunities out there, but really nice trading. Anything else on the S&Ps, Coach?
no, nothing else. Just looking forward to tomorrow. Let's look at the daily really quick.
All right, here we are on the daily.
Um, wow. Okay, we're finished above the 50, the 20. Just look at this year. That is a picture of volatility. Um, Still above the 200. Um, I still like the. It gets monotonous, sure, right? Buy the dip, but um, boy, once we fill that gap, onward and upward is that um contract. I mean, all time highs there.
Yep, 61.84 quarter, all-time highs. And who knows, with the ways these markets have been moving, this all-time high is 1.5% away. Can anyone think of a catalyst that might move these markets 1.5%? Um, I'm not saying direction. It could go whatever way they want. Can anyone think of a catalyst that might? What about you, Coach? Anything you could think of might be happening tomorrow?
Yeah, there- there's a yeah, there's a few of them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, be careful. But I'm just this thing. Look at that. That spike down that wick. You removed that wick, and it was just a correction,
Yep.
and it really was just a correction. Remember, most of that trade happened in the middle of the night, U.S. night, not to. So I
So
still own calls.
nice. Taking a look at the Fed Watch tool, 97.3% probability tomorrow of no change, 2.7% probability of a 25 basis point cut. So we will see what the Fed does tomorrow. First rate decision with a new administration. And I think what will be interesting we talk about this on Top Step TV, are the questions that happen after, right, during the press conference, about new administration and the decisions that the Fed can make. Right, we understand that government is not supposed to have a hand in the decisions that the Fed makes. We've heard Powell say that, but can there be some pressure put on by our new president for the Fed to do things, and how does the Fed respond from there? Going to be interesting for sure. All right,
Hey, coach,
go ahead, Coach.
real quick before you leave, is that a J trade with that volume?
Right here.
If we break,
Yeah.
yeah, with that volume from yesterday,
Hmm.
and we break that high,
Yeah.
hmm,
We
I'm
held
gonna mark
50%
what's
of it.
that? Like, I've got it marked on my. I know what to.
6105.
And then if we break that high, 6105. All right, let's remember that tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I made an ES
Hmm.
trade on my XFA with two contracts. My entry was 6503 and wrote it to 6073. 20-point trade, Kevin Pete. Very nice trade there. Very nice trade. Man, a lot of I love to see it in the chat. I know we have traders, across the spectrum, right? Some are doing really well, some are struggling. Um, just understand that it's possible for all of us to execute the trades that we see every day. Um, it's up to us. Was speaking to some traders in Discord earlier about education and what you need to learn. At some point, you get to a point where I don't need to learn anymore, right? From a technical perspective, I know exactly what it is that I need to do. It's about me executing that thing, and that's the difference for a lot of people, right? If you've gotten to a point in your trading where you're comfortable, you know what strategy you're trading, you know what you're looking for. It's about accepting losses and then stepping on the gas when it's the time to. And Kevin, you stepped on the gas today, made $3,100. Great stuff. At this point in my trading, unless something completely changes, I don't see me adding anything technical. It's about clicking the button when I'm supposed to click the button, right? And I think that might be the case for a lot of us. Uh,
Yeah, that's called consistency.
yep,
Executing your plan, being consistent. Um, and one other thing in that too is what I like on that is not cutting off your winners. We don't talk. It's not talked about too often, but cutting off your winners just because it's a winner can be very detrimental over the long term. Cut your losses. If you're, when we talk about whatever your plan to take profit is, stick to that. Um, it's really important over a longer period of time. So great trade.
yeah, really good stuff. Someone had asked us to pull up a Dow chart. Can't ignore the Dow. We are in an uptrend in the Dow also.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't trade the Nasdaq or the S&Ps. If you look at the Dow, it's been in an uptrend. So hopefully, if you're trading it, you're on the buy side. Wow, this is really nice. Look at how that opening set the low pretty much. Volume never left the range to the downside. Wasn't convincing. Last night was a lot of consolidation across a bunch of different markets, but once we started to get into the New York session, we can see the Dow breaking out here. Just want to take a look real quick. Remember, opportunity in a bunch of different places. I saw a trader mention today on Topstep TV that it's like, oh, all you guys do is focus on the Nasdaq. Doesn't mean you have to, right? I took a Russell trade yesterday on Topstep TV that I actually forgot about. Someone in Discord reminded me of it. But that was a better setup than anything else I saw. So find your setups, trade them. If you're the only one trading it, if you're the only one trading, it might be an issue because there's no volume. But if you don't hear anyone else mention it, that's okay. You can count the money; it's still going to be green. Uh, really nice trade here in the Dow. If you were
Yeah,
in
well, it's
this,
a good point though. E- Everybody trading Nasdaq, it's a big statement, but true, most people are.
yep,
But heck, there's all we preach this all the time. There is plenty of opportunity in other places besides Nasdaq. Um, that's why we cover them.
100%. All right, let's go to gold. Gold, gold, gold. This is the move that I was looking for yesterday. Maybe I should have just waited to the low of the range. Uh, Here we go in gold. Here's last night's open. And the roller coaster continues, coach. The roller coaster continues.
The roller coaster of gold. Um, yeah. Well, if you got short, how well did you do? Let's look at that. Let's say for whatever reason, you could take a good loss, maybe you scratched, maybe you made a little bit of money. But looking at the flow, I mean, how much opportunity was there on the downside? And at this point on the upside.
Yeah, right.
Um,
This is range bound trade, right? We talk about this flat VWAP range established. You could scalp this.
yeah. Until when? Let's go one at a time. Until when is it not?
Still scalpy.
Still boring. What's the average true range is collapsing. All
4 points
right.
on a 30-minute.
It's market. We used to call that coiling. Now, let's look here. Right here, we have that breakout. This is almost by design. Um, set the stops to go higher. Um, I don't know if I buy that whole thing. I know in the pit, um, there was plenty of times where locals would say, if it was near a low, you'd say the low was 6 and it's trading 6, 7. Someone sell 6, sell one at 5.
Mm,
And because then you get the print, we called it buying the print to see if there was any stops.
stops down there.
See if you could set them off and keep going. So remember, it sell one at 5, and all of a sudden you don't see anyone all following, and all the floor brokers or the paper is quiet. Oh, there's no, you know, right away, there's no stops. You take a 1 or 2 tick loss. Um, but whatever, here we make new lows. All right. Let's say, okay, and we preempt this sell because VWAP didn't leave the range. Let me, where is your risk? New highs,
New highs.
close above VWAP, 2 ATRs. Okay. We all have different risk appetite. But if you're taking this sell, it looks good here. I mean, besides the fact that volume isn't following it, and this is where really our psychology as humans is just to look for the winners. Kind of let our guard down, which is I'll get we drop our guard. Let's cue it up, coach.
Oh, I wasn't
Um,
ready. Hold on.
yeah, well, this is right there. We let our guard down and let's go forward. I'm not wrong yet. I'm not wrong yet. Uh, I'm feeling pain. Well, I'll just wait for. Yeah, Mama said knock you out, and there you go. Um, take losses, and look at this buy side. No, it'd be kind of hard. By the time VWAP left the range,
Oh, it was late. It was late.
it was late.
So I do want to
Uh,
look at one of the things we've been talking about
so
where if it doesn't give you that trade early, looking at London, since we know our friends in London like to start the party, is that a different story? Right? Where if you don't get that urgency right away,
yeah,
is it worth looking for that trade for 6 hours? Or do we go to another time where we know volume has the potential to come in and then waiting for that? That's a completely different story in London than what we had in the Asian session, Globex session. That's kind of crazy actually to see.
yeah. 101. Yeah. So there's one thing. to learn is there is no certainty. There's only uncertainty, but probabilities, thinking probabilistic. It was easy for you to say. Um, but yeah, there was nothing wrong with taking a loss. And I've been around a long time. I've worked with a lot of traders. These are the kind of setups where you're short, and if you have any kind of stubbornness, you might be tempted to add to that because you're anchored, not VWAP anchored, but anchored to having that winner. And then what's taken away from you, you know, unless you're willing, when we say this, principles of successful traders, be willing to accept the cost of the trade or don't take it. So, wow, nice trade.
Really nice trade. Let's see what happens in gold tomorrow. We're back above the 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart. But this has been a roller coaster, like Coach has said, right? We're moving to the upside on a higher time frame, but the way we're getting there is, it's a roller coaster, right? So let the market confirm that it's moving to the upside. For me, I'm going to confirm that with some volume, or let the market confirm it's moving in a direction. Shouldn't say just to the upside because it have some pretty nice downside moves as well. I'm going to wait for volume to confirm that direction and try to get in the trend from there if I am trading gold right now. Uh, let's go over to crude oil, but we got a couple of questions we want to get to first. Uh, this might be a Coach Paul question or Coach Hoop. How do you think Trump's energy policies will affect nat gas? I am going to defer that one because volatility is going to be my answer. But what about you, Coach? Or Coach Hoop is doing the fundamentals
Um,
forum in at 4:30, so that you might want to ask him that there. What do you think, Coach?
um, I, I don't know how it's going to affect overall. I have suspicion, but how does it affect the better question is how is it going to affect my trading,
There you go.
my decision making? And this is it's a great question. I told you I major I was an econ major. I studied all the external reasons why a market should go. Mine was grain. Then I forecast it, and none of that did I have a trading plan except for the market's wrong. If you if has anybody ever said that to yourself? Ah, the market's wrong.
Oh yeah, all the
Yeah,
time.
it didn't work for me. Yeah,
I've stopped
didn't
saying it.
work for me. So what I like this is a really good question is I have an opinion, but that opinion doesn't affect my trading. And that is really the art of trading. It's hard to. When you hear me, I just want to know that there's some big news out, but I don't read the news to make my decision. The the market action's going to help make that decision. So I don't know how it's going to, but through tech, I'm a technician, and with risk management, if it brings volatility, it's going to really, I should do well. So, um, more a fundamental. You might, yeah, Coach Hoop. It's probably have a better, uh, a deeper answers to that. But
Yep,
basically, trade your plan and plan your trade.
100%. Speaking of energies, let's go over to crude oil real quick. That
Hmm?
anyone remember the pattern that we talked about and said when it does this, we're going to trade it? Did anyone actually take it? I
I
didn't.
did.
Nice, nice trade, nice trade. Anyone remember that pattern we were talking about? And crude oil has been doing that 74 level. Yeah. Pattern that we're talking about here is over the last we want to call it 7 days now. We get a push up above this 50 moving average in crude oil and a sell off, and a push above and a sell off, and a push above and another sell off, and one more time. And just in case you didn't get it that time, here's another one, and one more just for good measure. It's almost $1.50 trade in crude oil off that rejection. And I don't want to make it seem that easy, but the pattern is the pattern. Now, the pattern will break eventually. Maybe as we continue to get lower here, down near some higher time frame support. Uh, Eventually, do we see an update in crude? But for right now, uh, drill baby drill to the downside, right? Let's see what it actually looked like on a shorter time frame. Maybe you set a sell up at 74. You would have had to have a decent risk on this, or you could wait for the market to start to turn. First thing I'm looking at here is this candle. I don't know what this is, but I don't know why it was that high volume. But the market turned. We get this candle here. I don't want to pretend that I would have gotten short here because I may have. And full disclosure, I probably would have gotten short. And in the 30 minutes that the market didn't move, I've been working on my patience chat, but it's not there yet. I might have cut this trade. But, but once we see this volume spike here, this for me, we talked about triggers before, right? This is now price action and volume. This price action breaks this low. This for me is where I'm looking to enter a trade. Uh, with the confirmation of that volume, where I might give up trade location up here, uh, take it here, and there's still about 80 cents available for you. Uh, but on a higher time frame, crude is just trading that pattern that we've identified. Coach, you said you took it. What were you looking at there?
But I've got a put spread on.
Okay,
I added a put spread,
nice, nice.
so that I've had this for a while. But you just said, it wasn't easy. Like we can look back and go, well, that was easy. Like you said, right there is that's a hard trade to take. Now, a couple other ways to swing that. You could put a VWAP on that. That was the high of the day
Yep,
on any of those. You keep doing that. Do it a few times. Okay, I'll do that. Is the market agreeing with me? I could put a VWAP on any one of those and try and trade under it. This kind of reminds me of being in the pit and getting in front of paper. So when
mm,
you do that, okay, here, I don't, not every trade. I sell it, it comes back above. I try to scratch or lose one or two ticks.
yep,
And then one, I'm in front of it and paper takes over because that isn't locals. That's not retail moving that lower. So if you have a level, I kind of like this idea of putting VWAP on it.
yep.
You can get a series of small losses until the
Eventual trade.
cascade cracks. Um, but also, let's look at the daily. Put on the moving average 200.
Wait, hold on a second. How did crude end the day? We went right back up. Oh wow. I'm looking at that daily chart, and it ended higher. I did not expect that on the daily. Talking about that short move, but what did you want to do here, Coach? I'm sorry.
Put on a 200 moving average.
Got you. Been that flat line that we've seen all year.
Now we were getting close to it. I think, but we're under the 20. There needs to be some buying here if we're going to go lower.
Hmm.
Um, Interesting. We're still above the 200, so I want to watch that tomorrow. If we get above the 200 on a half hour, I'll reverse
Okay.
myself
Yeah,
because there's that.
it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's getting closer, but it hasn't gone over yet. Boy, that buying. When was that on the close?
Yeah, this is 1:30 Central Time. So sorry, 1:30
Yeah.
Eastern, so 12:30 Central. So a little bit before the close. I don't know what that was.
Mm,
Whatever it was, some
Well,
volume came in there. And just started pushing us higher. Interesting.
short covering. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, one thing don't know, but I do know this: there was buying. That's all
Yep.
I really. That's all we get to know. Um, but still under pressure. Watch tomorrow above the 200 on a half hour. If we can hold that, you might get a nice rally. Because you know I'm not going to get anchored to having this have to go down.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. At some point, again, patterns are patterns until they break. It's been 7 days. It's been nice if you were on the short side of crude, and if it continues to go, it goes. But just knowing and looking both ways, isn't that CL? So CL settlement is 2:30. So this is the settlement candle here, right? This one is settlement here. This hour before, I don't know what this was.
Oh, what's the date? Is there a roll? Is it the last trading day of
It is
Feb?
January 28th. So maybe that was it.
Uh, Well, we do know this: there were more buyers than sellers at that moment.
Yeah, whatever this was. Some really nice buying here. So I am gonna just kind of mark out. Well, it's kind of hard to mark out this entire range, but what I would do here is look at where all of that buying came in, because we see that continuation. 73.50 is an interesting area for me right now in crude.
Yeah, I'm gonna see that.
73.50. All right. Any other markets we want to discuss? Chat if you have any other questions. We do have one from Charles Benitez here. What is that range you pull and the logic do you enter at the green line? All right. So this range, what I'm looking at here, it's just a fib tool. I have 0, the 50% level, and 100% level marked out. And basically, what I want to know is the high, the low, and the midpoint of any range. Uh, do I take a trade off this green line? I'm going to use the Dakota phrase here, but it depends. Let's see here. Let's look at this. So basically, what I'm doing, I want to identify some high volume. I'm going to attach VWAP to that volume, and then I'm going to trade based on that VWAP, right? So here we get a volume spike in crude. Uh, I might have ignored that one. Let's see. I might have ignored this one where it was a spike, but it wasn't that dramatic, right? We saw some other volume that was higher. But then when you get two in a row, then I might anchor to this one and say, okay, how is the market responding to here? If I can get an entry somewhere near 50%, great. If I can get an entry near VWAP, great, right? And that's going to be my entry spot. Uh, Depending on how these candles print and what that VWAP is doing, let's say this VWAP isn't as convincing and it's not leaving the range. I'm now looking at 50% as either an entry point or an exit, right? If I enter up here, I'm looking at 50% of this candle and saying, hey, if we close below this, I'm out of this trade. Uh, if VWAP looks like it wants to leave the range, but it hasn't yet, and I get a pullback to 50%, then I'll buy here because it is telling me that I get a better price than whoever bought up here. So a little bit of it depends. It's a little discretion, but basically what I'm doing is identifying a range and seeing how the market trades around that range. Micro Bitcoin. Have you been
I
trading it
got.
much, Coach?
I'm flat. I got out Friday on a failure. It's under the 200. It's feeling a lot of pressure. I almost had a chance to buy it today.
Okay.
What was it? Yeah, but look at that. We got right to the 200. Couldn't close above it. And wow, we made new lows. Um, Not a buy for me.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it. Um, it's got this feeling. It feels kind of heavy. It should be beginning of the year kind of thing. It should be continuing to go, but should is a really dirty word to use. When you hear that word should,
Yeah.
um,
Run.
run. But let's look at the daily. Oh, wow. We're at the 50 and the 20.
Interesting.
So,
Uh, Shout out to
wow.
Andrew in the chat. MBT and MET contract rollover today. Thank you for that
Okay.
information, Andrew.
Oh, yeah, that's the last. Yeah, don't. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Don't ever trade the last day of micro Bitcoin on expiration day.
Hmm.
Don't get caught in that. Know it 2 days beforehand. If you're going to trade it, trade the next month. It can get really illiquid. Um,
Yep. It's a good case for looking at and you don't have to worry about it so much on Topstep X because it's going to roll for you. But let's say you're trading on another platform that you have to roll your contracts manually. Uh, Look at the volume of the contract that you're trading, right? For example, in Quantower on my watch list, I have and I'll take some of this stuff off so we can see it here. But usually my watch list is the symbol, the last traded price, the percentage change, and volume, right? Because when I click, especially on other platforms where you can click and it changes the charts, when I click here, I just do a quick glance at the volume just to make sure that the market is actually trading. Uh, if that value is like 100, don't trade that contract. And you're going to see it in the chart also, right? It'll look like the Nikkei on a 1 minute chart, during the day. If it looks like this, stay away,
anyway,
because you might be the only person trading this market, and we know the Nikkei is one of the lower volume markets that we have. But if you're trading something that doesn't normally look like this, and the chart looks like this, you're probably on the wrong contract. So just be aware of that. Uh, we got oh, we're at time. We're at time. There was one more question here I do want to answer. Jonathan Wilbanks, coaches, how much slippage can one expect to have during fast markets with 4 Nasdaq contracts in the live market? Jonathan, it's going to depend. Today, for example, and over the last couple of days, really, the spread in the Nasdaq during fast markets time during that first hour has been anywhere from 2 to 8 ticks. It depends. What I will say, to kind of gauge what your slippage is going to be, if you have level 2 data up and you have a depth of market up, just look at what that spread is like, and you can kind of gauge it from there. With the way the Nasdaq moves, that is going to be dynamic, right? If some news comes out and your stop ends up getting hit because of news, that slippage could be more than what the spread is, right? Because that spread might widen really quick. So just be aware of how thin the markets are, especially if you're trading in a live account, when you're trading. Because yeah, it's definitely a concern, especially if a headline or something like that comes out. I would say the worst I've seen is probably like 15 ticks, um, for one of my own personal trades. But it can be anything, right? It really just depends what is out there when your order gets filled.
yeah,
Uh,
I second that. But remember that slippage in front of a big number like we saw in CPI.
right,
We had 250-point move in 15 seconds. Your stop's not going to get filled at
right.
where you anywhere near. So, but most of the time, I mean, it's reasonable. I don't. I mean, it's a function of the volatility, but a 4 lot isn't going to scare any market maker off. But when they put their hands down in front of big numbers and you have a stop and you think, well, if it just goes there, don't do it. I'm just telling you, don't do it. You might get lucky. Oh, and I will leave that at that point. The theme of the day: don't let your guard down.
Don't let your guard down for sure. I got nothing else. We do have the big news of the day tomorrow. Remember, FOMC, don't trade during that number. You will look like this guy. Uh, you can always trade after it. Frame out the candle.
It,
That's a punch right there. That is it's a scary man.
oh man,
Uh,
that's Now I'm gonna have that song on my in my ear all night long.
If only we wouldn't get copyrighted by YouTube, I would play it right now. But as soon as we get off of here, I'm gonna play it too. Uh,
Absolutely.
but
Could be a theme song.
don't get knocked out tomorrow trading FOMC, trying to be a hero. We've seen it the last FOMC meeting that we had. It was a huge opportunity, and you did not have to be in that first minute. You didn't have to be in that first 15 minutes. The markets are going to present some really good opportunities to us. We just have to be patient enough to wait for them and uh, practiced enough to execute when they show us when they show themselves to us. Manage your risk, trade well. I'll see you all on Fast Markets tomorrow. We are drafting the new lunatics tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. And that's all I got, Coach. Anything before we go?
No, I gotta get this song out of my head, or maybe I don't. So, have a great night or morning wherever you're at, and don't trade in front of the number tomorrow.
There we go.
That's
Trade
it.
well, manage your risk, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye.